You may have noticed that the establishment media got a little bit too excited on Monday after taking the unprecedented step of releasing his tax return and calling on the Tory Chancellor to do the same. The Labour leader faced sustained attack from the media. Journalists and commentators must have spent the most of one single minute analysing the document. The first story, that Jeremy Corbyn had apparently hidden £40,000 of his income, was of course absolute bullshit. But after diving in to attack Jeremy Corbyn, the same so-called journalists were not as quick to clarify, retract and apologise for the mistake that they had made. Instead, the headlines were altered and things were changed to talk about confusion. This was now a confusing story that Jeremy Corbyn had built, despite the fact that it had been orchestrated by the press themselves. And we need to talk about this bias. Those of us on the left are told that we are conspiracy theorists or crazy people, just simply trying to make excuses for our dear leader, when really all we want to do is expose the bias within the mainstream press, the print press, and even the broadcast media. We are told that the hatred that Jeremy Corbyn faces from the establishment media is no different to what any other left-wing leader has faced in the past. And of course, we all remember how the press went after Ed Miliband, especially with the infamous bacon sandwich. But the evidence shows that whilst we accept that the establishment media has never been kind to a left-wing leader, we've never seen anything on this scale. A report from the London School of Economics proved that in the first 2 months of Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, the press acted like an antagonistic attack dog that went after Jeremy Corbyn for anything and everything. 2/3 of editorial and opinion pieces were found to be critical of the Labour leadership across all newspapers, and over half of apparently objective news articles were found to be the same. And the author of the report at the LSE said that he had never seen anything as vicious, nasty and antagonistic as the way that the press went after Jeremy Corbyn. The bias isn't limited to the mainstream print press either. A recent report by Birkbeck University, along with the Media Reform Coalition, found that across BBC flagship programmes, Jeremy Corbyn's critics were given twice as much coverage as his supporters. Just a few months ago, the BBC Trust was forced to admit that Laura Kuenssberg's reporting of Corbyn's view on the shoot-to-kill policy of the government of the time breached impartiality rules. These arguments are not new. This isn't something that I have come up with. We've been talking about this for a long time. But it's important to reiterate them so that we know exactly what we are up against and the extent of the power that we are up against. It's true that we shouldn't blame the media for all of the woes and the problems of the Labour Party. But why is calling out what is happening with the press synonymous with doing this? Don't we have a duty to talk about what our press is doing to the Labour leadership? Don't we have a duty to call out the hypocrisy in our media? A print media that calls the Queen in a headscarf elegant and a Muslim woman in a headscarf oppressed. As some commentators call on the Labour leadership to build a cohesive media strategy or to engage better with the mainstream press, it becomes obvious day by day that the press are not interested in this themselves. Throughout history, every radical movement has faced sustained and constant attack from the elite media. Those that have been unsuccessful have tried to court the mainstream press or failed to build a narrative that works. But those radical movements that have been successful have generated their own media. They've reached out to real people through real people. Do not be forced into silence by the monstrous press barons and the power that they hold. Don't let them knock you down. Instead, double down.